Welcome to the Wednesday pod for the SC Hub. My name is Rob, or Munster Mash, as you may see me within the server. Joining me tonight, I've got Toby's troops and, well, holding me balls. Or Toby and Vish. How's it going tonight, guys?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. All right. First of all, look, welcome once again. Tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us about your Supercoach history. So I guess all the listeners can find out what's going on.
Far away, Holden.
All right. Well, my name's Vish. I live here in Sydney. Pretty new to Supercoach, actually. This is my third year. Started in 2022, had a horrendous season. Did not know what a bye was. That was great. Started following pretty much every podcast under the sun last year and got really into it. Did a bit better last year. This year I'm traveling okay. Ranked in the top 10k, so good
Very
start.
nice.
Great start.
I've got a few problems with my team, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think you're not alone with that. I think everybody's having a few issues this week, but we will obviously get into that. What about yourself, Toby?
Yeah, played Supercoach fantasy, for years and years now. I wouldn't even be able to put a number to it. I'd say 10 plus years. Been featuring in the SC Hub sort of community for a couple of years now. I've been a bit quiet the last probably 12 months. I was overseas in Ireland, so it's a little bit hard to keep track of everything. Last 2 years, got it up. So I was top 800-ish last year, and then year before, when I was really into the hub and I was trying to read every piece of info I could get, I come 16th. So, it was an awesome resource, heaps of help in there, and really helped me end up where I was.
Fantastic. All right. Look, as we hinted at, there obviously are a bunch of issues going with Supercoach, but we'll cover the admin side of things before we get stuck into the conversation. So, first of all, as I'm sure you guys are involved with, we have an SC Hub overall group, and we have some results this week. We've got the top 3 overall within the group so far. At 1,200, we've got Scrumbags or Stephen. At 2,564, we've got Maury or Ryan. And then our very own from the podcast at 2,992 is Realm, or Alex as is also known. So all those guys are obviously flying, and the top score of the week was a 1208 from Aizen or Alan. So obviously they've done well, a lot better than what I have to begin the year, but things are starting to get better. So how did you guys go this week?
I've had a slow start to the season. I forgot to say what my current rank was before, which is probably why. So I'm sitting at 32k, and I've pretty much halved my rank, I think, the last 2 weeks. So I've had some green arrows, and I'm still down at 32k. So I feel like everyone's saying it though. I look at my team and I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah,
I've done a few boosts. I might be on for 3 boosts in a row this round. Pending how things plan out. But I think after that, I'll be pretty happy with my template and be able to fit Cleary back in when he returns.
Can I ask, what's being happy with your team feel like? 'Cause I haven't felt that this year yet.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Look, I would say that I'm 60% happy with my team. There's a few fires that I need to put out this week, but I feel like things are improving for myself at least.
Yeah, I suppose my spine, I'm pretty set at the moment. Only this week have I traded out Cleary. I thought I'd hold him with the very slim chance he would play this week and be a bit of a pod, but happy with Ponga. Hines sort of hit back to form. So some of those big value players, I suppose, aren't the sort of trade outs that were, sort of summing up the last week or two. So, that's where I'd say I'm happy. But definitely not with the rank and without some Cowboys, it's a pretty daunting week up ahead.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you sitting, Rob?
I am actually just behind you. I'm at 35k at the moment, but I had my best week so far with a 1073. So I was pretty happy with that. Would have cracked the 1100 if I'd stuck with my gut and actually played Levi. And overall, as I said, I'm on the up. So I feel like I'm within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll probably be quite happy with where I'm positioned overall, because I've got most of the people making money. I've got most of the guns that now seem to be coming into form. So I feel like going to keep getting green arrows, hopefully.
Yeah. For how dire the cheapies were at the start of the year, we've been pretty lucky. I think the last couple of weeks, Galvin, Talangi this week. A few
They
more.
all started coming out of the woodworks after round 1.
Yeah, it was bound to happen. It was crazy at the start. There was just no real bottom dollar cheapies that were secured for minutes, really. So they're sort of trickling 1 week at a time at the moment. So it's nice to just pick them off and sort of upgrade, downgrade, and bring in a gun. So it's always nice to do.
Yes, it certainly is. Anyway, we'll cover a little bit of the NRL side of the news, and then we'll get stuck into trades and talking about what moves we think people should make, and giving, what if they call it advice? I think that's probably been a bit generous for us, but anyway. So we've seen a bit of a clickbaity headline this week with Lomax, and I think it's basically put to bed that now that he is going to stay at the Dragons for the rest of the year, and that he's free to move from 2025. That's been, I guess, clarified. So I actually quite like that for Lomax. I think he's looking pretty good at the Dragons so far. So I think that's a good for us super coaches at least. We've got Plath and unfortunately Galvin, who's shaping up to be almost a gun, really. They're both out due to hip drop tackles. We've got a few injuries with Metcalf, Preston. Hoskin, I know, is out just for HIA. Alex Johnston looks like he's sitting out a few weeks. So there's a few, scattered around the different teams now. And we also did get some clarification that it looks like Cleary is going to be back for that Tigers game in round 7. So I guess we'll get stuck into, what we see as the big topics for the week. And for me, the number one topic of the week is what people are going to do with Taylor May. What do you guys think? Have you got Taylor May still? Are you looking to trade? What exactly are you guys thinking?
I was kind of thinking about this all week, and do you guys remember what happened with Taruva last year? I think everyone owned Taruva, right? And I know a lot of people didn't move off him either, even when he started doing average scores, and he kind of became everyone's like 5th or 6th winger. It definitely became mine for a large part of the season. I feel like that's what I'm going to do with May. Like, he's still in the best team in the comp right now, unfortunately. It's not the Tigers yet. Next year it will be. But, he's still in the best team in the comp on the left edge. I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about selling him, to be completely honest. Similar to what Holden said last year with Taruva. He started, I remember, the season really, really strong base, and I was like, wow, once he sort of gets a try or two, he's going to be averaging 70s. And it seemed that when the tries did come in, his base dropped off a little bit. But like everyone's been saying the last couple of weeks, Penrith matchup, they've just had 2 edge back rowers that they're versing go down, and they've just gone right side, and they haven't even needed to go left. Does worry me, any sort of outside back playing off Luai, though. I don't think he really feeds the clean ball like Cleary does to his edge and centre. He sort of props in a little bit, and it seems really hard to sort of time a run off him. Regardless, though, he's got a pretty good base. Few attacking stats come in. I think, worst case scenario, I'll wait for a big-ish score, a few sort of green price rises, and then that's when I'd get rid of him. But he's not a pressing concern for my team at the minute. Yeah,
I'll be honest, I'm on the fence with Taylor May. So if you don't need to trade him out, I wouldn't. However, I don't consider him probably in the top 6 or 7 CTW at the moment.
Agree.
So I think he's probably a little bit under. So if you can use him to go to somebody that is a gun,
Mhm.
I'm on all for that trade, and that's probably what I'm doing this week. I think I'm going to go May to Val Holmes. So in that
Okay.
sense, I think that's a reasonable trade.
Lock and load. Yeah, for sure. If you're going sideways to the likes of Olam or those sort of middies, we saw Labit in round one sort of have a big score and then fade back to being pretty average. I'd probably advise not to, because May will have that time where it will go big. But if you're upgrading to a Holmes or downgrading even to a Talangi and upgrading elsewhere, then I can completely understand why people are selling him.
I just say I'm so glad I didn't fall into that trap of Laybot early in the season. I was so close. I was reversing my trades like about 3-4 times a day.
Always wait round 2 and then reassess.
Yeah.
And he had the game out as well, so it's not just been low scores. He's missed the game as well, where people probably had to play a sort of cheapie in there to fill his spot.
And it was a late out as well, right? Because I think it was an hour before kickoff?
Yeah, it wasn't long. Yeah, because just
either an hour or a few hours earlier that it was rumored to be out. Now, one thing I guess I do want to mention before we look at moving off May is that we know that from round 7 after the bye, the Panthers have a really good run, pretty much up into Origin. It's pretty juicy. So I think at that point you'd probably want at least one Panther in the outside backs.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to fit in what Taruva now. He's going to be expensive, and Tungo is one of the most expensive. So if you're looking for a value option to keep, he is the one. Whether over Origin they struggle a little bit with lacking their Origin players, but so I wouldn't hold him for that sole purpose. I'm not too sure what Panthers' buy schedule's like either. I'd want to see a bit of form out of him before then to hold him throughout Origin. But again, something to sort of keep in mind that he won't be off playing Origin, so he will be handy covered.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how the Panthers will go over Origin. We sort of tend to see they can be a bit up, they can be a bit down. It's sort of hard to predict at times, but I do think that you'll want someone, at least from like, say, round 7, maybe to round like 12 or 13, and then you can always look to trade them out. I think, the run's going to be very, very juicy, and I think at least I know I will want a piece of it. So whether that is with a May, or I might even look at trying to maybe go a pod and grab somebody like a Taruva or or hope for the best, especially if they keep attacking right. I actually don't mind Taruva if he's not too expensive.
Yeah, it's interesting how they swap sides seemingly a bit random, and they've swapped roles completely. It's not like they're going left side to hit To'o more. They've just continued going right, and Taruva's really seen the benefits of that. Sorry, Holden, you go.
Sorry. They don't have a buy again until round 16, so they might be handy pickups for 13 and 14.
Yeah.
Wish Henry was in my team right now.
Yeah, he will be. He's, for those that have him, congratulations. I think you've probably nailed the front row forward cheapie. The rest of us, I think. Yeah.
Sorry, I reversed. I think, I picked Farmasuli instead of Henry like an hour before kickoff for round 1. I was on Henry all week. I hate my life.
Who's worse, Farmasuli or Viliami Fafita?
I'm glad I don't have Fafita.
Yeah, at least he's dual. That's the only thing I look at and go, that might be helpful at one stage, but can't really ever imagine.
I'm slightly convinced that Hughes is worse than both anyway. Because I'm still, I know he's starting this week, but I'm convinced he's gonna play 15 minutes and piss off to the bench
and not see a minute.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised at all if he's just using him to soak up the first 15-20 minutes and then get his sort of more proven forwards on once he's done a bit of tackling. So I definitely wouldn't be confident in him going anywhere near my team this week. So makes the loop a little bit of an off from the get-go.
And
the one thing we do know at least is that the Bulldogs do play early, so that's
True.
something we can, I guess, kind of look at if you are considering looping. One thing though that I think might be important, and I'm very thankful I own him, is Josh Curran's move to an edge. So I would imagine he'll probably play 80 on the edge, fingers crossed. So that does free up a few minutes in the middle. So hopefully, for all of our sakes that have Hughes, he does pick up a few extra minutes and can maybe score more than 20 points. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I can take 25 from him at this rate. Who
They
have
do
Bulldogs got on their bench?
Harrison Edwards. I was having a look into him earlier today, and how he played last year. He was averaging 59 minutes for 45. So he might be up for big minutes as well. But it is his first game this year, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like
How
is
they-
it Katoga is a edge player potentially as well. I'm not too sure about him.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens in that Bulldogs game. So there's a couple of other, and we've already mentioned his name. The other big news story for this week in Supercoach is obviously Blaze Talangi. Look, I think a lot of people will view him as an absolute sure thing, have to get him in. Are you guys part of that thinking?
I think I'll boost for him, to be honest. Yeah. Hurts to boost for a cheapie, but starting 5'8" for the next 6 to 7 rounds, it's pretty hard to pass up.
Yeah.
I've only done the one trade so far. I've got a couple ideas for the second, but it was too picky to Blaze. That was just an easy decision, I guess.
Yeah, no, that one makes a lot of sense to me. We've seen Chance has been named at fullback, so I think barring injuries, I don't think, Torpiki is going to be getting back into that side anytime soon for the Warriors, unfortunately. It is probably a time to move him on. So with, I guess, Talangi, now there will be a few teams out there that, especially with the way some of these injuries have gone, that'll be, we'll say, a thin is where they'll be. That's sort of like that's 18, maybe 19 players at best. Would you prioritize him over potentially grabbing maybe somebody like a Val Holmes this week, or even somebody maybe that's a bit more middle of the road, like maybe a Lomax that's maybe not quite that same level and doesn't have the Titans this week?
I'm gonna say, like, unless you're boosting for both, like getting, I guess, everything you want, no, because like I don't feel like this is going to be a high scoring round or a round that you need to be super concerned about. It's raining everywhere, and a lot of people like myself are stuck with Hutchinson as halfback one.
It's been a gun the last 2 weeks.
I don't know. I wouldn't be too concerned.
Yeah, is it raining in Townsville? I feel like that's the only place that I've heard that it may not be raining. So that it is.
Melbourne. That's not raining. Townsville was like, I think, getting 6 millimeters of rain. It's not much.
Yeah, enough though that Cowboys like that sort of dry weather footy. So, I think that's one of those situations. The Cowboys. I know everyone's sorry for jumping ahead, but jumping on the Drinkwater and Holmes is definitely in my trade plans. He's in my team for Cleary at the moment, actually. But those 1 week plays in Supercoach, I just find so rarely after. If Holmes hits out a 70 or 80, which is a very respectable score this week, would you still be happy to have brought him in? They've obviously got some harder fixtures coming up. I know it happened with like Garrick last year, even Manu this week, that I just get a little bit iffy that seeing that real gem matchup and say if they don't get the 120, 130 that people are really hoping for by bringing him in this week, would you still be happy with them over the next 4 or 5 weeks? And if not, then that's when I'd probably reassess and go, say, a Lomax who doesn't have a plum fixture this week, but with the goal kicking on the wing, playing for a contract next year, perhaps long term, and with the saving, he'd be at least worth considering. But yeah, it's going to be scary not having one of Drinky or Holmes this week. That's for sure.
That'll be a very hard watch. Now, I guess back to Talangi. Which way would you go? I'm personally leaning towards, because of the rain, I don't think it will be that high scoring. And we've seen that Talangi has a decent base. I actually don't think he's worst play this week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Similar to Holden, upgrade, downgrade. If you're bringing in a gun and bringing him in as well, then yeah, I'd absolutely go for it and play him as well. He's shown a pretty good base, good running game, little Dill Brown clone. So if he can bang out 45 pretty much base, then I think he's pretty safe play.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, I'm stuck with as my last either Strange or Blaze. So I think I am going to have to opt towards Blaze, but we'll see how we go.
Who's going to win the game, I guess?
That is a tough one. I think it's almost that kind of thing that you might even go an hour before kickoff and see what the weather's like. I think that could be the way, I guess, a good way to look at some of your reserve plans this week, is sort of leaning more towards those base stat guys if it does look like it is very wet, which is what the radar is saying for pretty much every game.
Yeah. Problem is, with that matchup, they're playing each other. So they'll either both be wet or both be dry. So who would you take there?
Canberra home game though.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, I think it's a flip of a coin. I wouldn't be surprised if they were within 5 points of one another, to be honest.
Yeah. You'll think about it all weekend, and then they'll be 5 points apart.
Yeah, and then
I'll think about it all weekend, and then the wrong choice.
Yeah, the one thing I'm almost certain of is that whichever one we end up picking, it'll probably be the other player that does that 5 points better.
The one that gets them binned, yeah, no doubt.
So with that, I guess we've obviously Talangi being a basement price cheapie. He looks like he's probably going to make 150K sort of at least, if he continues the form that he's shown. It's we've started to talk about moving on some of these cheapies. I definitely think it is time to start really thinking about what you are going to do with certain players going forward. We're starting to see a few of them get to that sort of mark, like a Smithies, like a Ben Trbojevic. They're all starting to probably get to that point where they are peaking. Have you guys started to make plans to move these guys on? And have you kind of started to figure out who you want to move on first compared to the others?
I think for me, the first one, like I've got Firmo and Smithies, right? And I'm not overly concerned about holding them for now or even a few weeks, just because they have peaked. They're not going to go down. They're not going to go up. They're just going to fizzle around where they are. I'm more concerned about these cheapies that are shooting up pretty quickly, like Bostock. Like I'd want to make sure I've got enough cash in the bank, so when I trade out Bostock, I can do like a Fermat or maybe a David Fifita or something. My most immediate concern would be Mulatalo. I'm on the fence about trading him this week. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, Mulatalo is a bit of a strange one. I'm an owner as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with him over the next few weeks.
My idea was I'd get Cleary back with him, but he might be like 600K by the time Cleary comes back. I just don't know.
What's his break even going? I know they got the bye this round, but
yeah, I think that helps if with that plane in particular, the Sharks bye. He's only got that 1 week to lose money.
It's 83, but
83 going, yeah.
He can come out against the South and score like a 20.
Yeah, the way South's been playing, he could bang out another 80 plus as well. He's hard to predict. He got late points in their last game as well, which was pretty nice for you guys.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Even the game before against the Tigers, he was on like 30 at like 79 minutes, and then got that crappy line break.
Yeah, he's a roller coaster. I think he still could do well, but it's hard. Like, I think you made a good point though that the likes of Smithies, Burbo, some of the others, they're not going to drop in price drastically. It's getting off the Bostocks and all that once he goes from 80s back to, he could have scored 20 in round 1, I think, without his try. He's really going to plummet in price. So you've got to really be flexible for when he does have that absolute crappy game. If he follows it up with the second one, that you're going to have to flick him as soon as possible so that you are making the big cash on him. Because Smithies, like, he might come out with a sort of 50, 55 and get the cash sort of flowing a little bit more. But I'm looking to get rid of him this week purely from a minutes perspective. But I don't think he's going to let anyone down. If you're not playing him, he's not going to plummet in value and come out and get a 10 or a 15 and really go back to the price he started.
Yeah, I think, it's something that I'm, as somebody that's probably a serial over planner when it comes to Supercoach, I've started to have a look over the next few weeks, and I don't see a lot of cheapies on the horizon that are sort of about, I guess, that really cheap mark. I mean, we've got Iro if he continues to keep that center spot.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people may need to get a little bit creative with how they move things over the next few weeks. I mean, look, the season may continue and there may be injuries, and that allows us to move our cash as we need it. But I think, it's going to be a very interesting few weeks, especially with a lot of people jumping off Cleary and needing to get him back. It's something I think you're going to be like, just make sure that you've got sort of plans if you do want to get Cleary back for round 7, making sure that you sort of, I guess, have a plan to do so and how you're going to do it.
Yep. Yeah, and that's my thing this week with bringing in a Holmes or someone like that. I don't want to bring in a halfback really, because I see it as a 2-week play at best, and then I want to get rid of them no matter what for Cleary. Whereas at least if it is a centre, you could potentially keep them longer term and trade someone else that isn't doing as well. So it gives you a bit more flexibility. Like, I'd love to get on Sean Johnson this week, but the thought of trading him 2 weeks later, he probably will sort of be at the same price. He might have some good scores, but I like the temptation of a centre wing that I could potentially keep for a very long time and then get rid of a different centre wing or second rower that's really not going too well for me to generate the cash for Cleary. So I guess you can sort of go 2 different strategy approach.
I thought about SJ heaps as well, but a lot of us are playing, I guess, roulette with fullback. You don't want to be doing it with halfback as well. And a lot of us are boosted twice in a row. Some of us are boosting 3 times in a row. And I don't know about you guys, but I've got some horror memories from the tail end of last season. I think it went from ranked around top 2K to about 7, just because I ran out of trades.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, and I actually think that's something that we might find repeats this year. If the way things are going, I think a lot of people are going to burn through trades really quickly, and we'll see how things go towards the end. Because I always tend to run out of trades and kind of just sort of ride things home for the last 4 or 5 rounds. So I'd like to avoid that next year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm normally a very good trade saver. The last 2 years I've had, I think, 2+ trades in the last round, sort of waiting for carnage. Last year it was brilliant. It propelled me well into the top K, which I was sitting outside. And the year before, though, there was barely any restings. Penrith rested their entire team pretty much, and that was when Cowboys absolutely flogged them, but no one else rested. So I was absolutely filthy because I was trying to push nice and high. And Roosters versus Rabbitohs I thought would be mass restings, and there was nothing. So it can go either way, but it's always nice to have a couple of trades up your sleeve and pick up the late season sort of coolers that you wouldn't even think of owning throughout the season, but end up at fullback and start turning up every week, and you're sitting there without any trades left. It's pretty hard to watch.
Yeah. Now, Holden, you did there mention the fullback roulette. That I agree. I think there's a lot of people looking to play it this year. So, and I have already started. So, with that, we've seen one of the fullbacks, Tom Trbojevic, have a couple of down weeks where he's sort of pushing that sort of 50 and 60s now. And a lot of us have been waiting for him to have that breakout game. I'm starting to think it may not be coming to the same heights that we've seen in the past. I think his breakout game might only be 100, 110. But on that note, do you guys think people should trade out Tom Trbojevic or hold him?
See the merit.
Yeah, first.
So yeah, I see the merit in it. Fullback roulette is not for me. We've already seen it work the opposite way. People getting rid of Ponga, people bring in Trell, who's done all right, but he's certainly not set the world alight. I personally think Turbo can do it against anyone. If he had a bye or something, that would potentially make it a little bit more of a fair enough. Like he's going to cop a, like you won't have someone in your team for a certain round, but just the fact that it's Penrith and then Warriors who just got not torn apart, but Ponga scored really well against them. Again, it's not for me. It's that I'd love if for 1 week I could bring in Drinkwater and he leaves my team next week for free and I get Turbo back. I'd absolutely do it. That 1 week, I guess that you see the shining light. Go, Drinkwater's going to hit 150, Turbo's going to get 40, and then that would be all well and good if it played out like that. But if Turbo manages to get 55 and Drinky sits at 85, was it worth the trade? I'd probably say not. So you really need Turbo to fail and Drinky to go off, or Ponga or whoever you bring in for it to be really worthwhile long term. But again, lots of really good super coaches do it. I know Savs from the SC experience, he's always doing the fullback roulette, and his credentials are as good as anyone. So
yes.
No,
I guess just before you mentioned Savs there, I know that I've been following along with the SC experience boys and I don't think he's enjoying things too much at the moment because he jumped off Teddy, as far as I'm aware. So, and then he's obviously gone crazy. So that says it all. So somebody that's experienced and knows what they're doing has played the fullback roulette and it's not worked out. So it is something that, I think you've really got to look at whether you want to do it.
Let me show you my inexperience. I did the exact opposite, and I've traded Cleary out to Teddy last week for his 47.
A week too late.
But no, look, I see the attraction in it, and with Turbo, I've been kind of thinking about, is he being hurt by the almighty 5/8 Dally M of the year, Luke Brooks? And is he being hurt by Burbo as well?
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the last few rounds that we've watched in round one, I've seen so many tries fumbled on that left edge. Lost over the try line, kicked dead, whatever it might be. And I feel like years before, they really cinched that. Does he just need Schuster back? Is that a conversation?
I didn't think I'd hear that today, but yeah, it's a good point. I think Schuster does help Turbo a lot. Unfortunately, though, last game against St. George, he was sort of in amongst it in the first half. He just kept dropping the ball himself. So I see that and I'm angry and I'm like, oh, bloody hell, he's playing horribly. But I also think, well, if he caught all 3 or 4 of those balls, he's probably on 100 and you don't even think about it. So, but it is a bit of a concern, like you said, Burbo and Brooks, like, are they sort of, stopping Turbo being as dominant as he has been in previous seasons? It's definitely a case, but he's averaging 70 still, so I think he'll come good, but I'm pretty patient with guys like this and, ready to flick other people before Turbo.
Yeah, it's going back to, I guess, something we mentioned just before. I think if, like, I'm somebody that has Turbo and will be holding at this stage, I think the main reason to move off him would be exactly what you've just mentioned there, Holden. If you think that he's not going to score as well because of the setup for Manly, rather than his, the fact that he's only scored 50s, I think that's, a very a valid reason if that's what you think. Like, if somebody thinks that's what they can to move off him. I'm starting to lean towards that. I think Luke Brooks will probably throw a few more final balls for try assists rather than Tommy Turbo. But I still think he's got like a 120 in him. It's maybe he doesn't have a 180, but I still think he's definitely got those sort of anywhere between 100 to 150. That he's still got those for sure.
Absolutely. This time of the season, it's pretty rare to see those 150 plus sort of scores anyway. So if you're confident you can hit out a 100, 120, before teams' attacks really warm up, then I think it'd be hard to trade him out. But again, I can absolutely understand why people are wanting to. If it was to generate a bit of cash as well, I'd be more for it. But yeah, the thought of trading out Turbo and having to pay up for the likes of Drinkwater, it just doesn't sit right for me.
Yeah.
I'm completely on the fence with this because one of the things I want to do is do Turbo to Paps.
Yeah.
-6B plays in Amy Park, I think 4 of the next 6 games.
Yeah.
And is the only game this week that's apparently dry.
Yeah. And Calvary is back for the Storm. So we have got Munster and Hughes back, which I think will help him.
Yeah.
As a Broncos fan as well, he's 4 tries in 20 minutes or whatever. I'll still never forget that. So, it's a pretty good matchup for little Pappy. He's probably one of my favourite non-club players, not at my team. He's fantastic when he's in full flow. So the goal-kicking loss is a bit of a bugger. I think I heard the other day that he averaged in his big season 81 if you take off the goal-kicking. So, definitely a respectable score. He was scintillating that season, mind you, but I'd never argue with someone bringing in Paps, and touch wood he stays healthy this year, and we see him at the heights that he was a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, as someone that is a proud Storm fan, he is. I will gladly say he is my absolute favorite player to watch at the moment in the league. Like I just love watching him. I quite like that trade. Because you are generating about 80K, I believe.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so I think at the moment, especially if it can help get you to make some extra moves and things, I'm all for it.
You got rid of Cleary last week, didn't you say, Holden?
Yeah, I did. Got rid of Cleary for Teddy, and might get rid of Turbo for Paps. But I'm really on the fence about it. I've just done the one for now, which is the Blaze trade. Yeah.
At least Paps has a buyout of the way as well, so you sort of got one fixture on everyone. Shouldn't play.
Do you think he makes
on the bench, would you think? Or I can't see it, to be honest.
No, neither do I.
Not over any of the
fitness.
Yeah, I think this is sort of foundation year for Paps to sort of get the injuries out of his mind and get back to playing good footy, and then maybe next year if he strings another good season under his belt. But for his sake, I hope he just tears up club footy and
Also, his match.
Yeah,
Fittler. Hopefully, he doesn't play 3 fullbacks in centre.
If Paps is at centre, I'd be very, very concerned for New South Wales.
All right. There's one other major player. We'll move on to, I guess, some other discussion points. There's one other major player that I am extremely high on this week, and that is Kai Pearce-Paul. Like, if anybody that's not convinced, I say simply look at his base stats for the last game and the game before, and for me, it's a no-brainer. I think he's close to a must.
Yeah, one of the few good decisions I have made this year. Got him 2 rounds ago for 67 and 65.
Oh, some nice price rises there for you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in my team. I've brought him in this week, kicking myself for not doing it earlier. I saw he was 50, I think, before updates this weekend, and I was sort of like, oh, it's not quite what I'm after, and then updated to 65, and I was like, oh, that's all in base. The moment he gets an offload or two or one little attacking stat, he's in mid-70s. He's going to be an absolute gun at, is he 400k,
I think it's
440k?
440. And I think he's only going to go up from here. So I'm just going to read out a few comparison stats for, I guess, a bit of a comparison. So having a quick look here at Haumole Olakau'atu, somebody who I think we can all agree has had a really good start to the year for Supercoach. So with him, if you're looking at sort of standard base and power, you're probably looking at somewhere in the ballpark of, I would say, probably 50 to 55 most weeks. I think that's his floor, which, as we've seen over a few years now for second rowers, that is elite. That is fantastic. And then we've just seen Pierce Paul basically do the same thing now for 2 games in a row. The stars seem to be aligning. Dylan Lucas named at 18. Tyson Frizzell was the one to move to the middle when he played on the edge. For me, I think he's potentially top 5 second rowers for the rest of the year.
Big call, but the way he's going, I
agree. But I think even though he doesn't have job security, he's got, I don't know, maybe if you want to call it team security. Like, the Knights aren't setting the world on fire, right? And if they drop a couple games in a row and he has a couple stinkers, he might be on the chopping block.
That's my biggest concern with him. If he, like you said, a couple of games lost in a row, could he be the one to go? They obviously didn't have him as the starting second row to start the year. That's probably more of a fitness sort of adjusting to the NRL. But you just got to, like, I'm looking at it, the amount of mid-price second rowers we all started with at the start of the year, around that 440k mark. His 3-round average is 58. Would we have taken 58 from any single one of those guys to start the year? Absolutely. So don't look at how much he's gone up in price. Look at him as a mid-ranger that's going to average, you'd think, 55 to 60 minimum if he's playing 80 minutes.
Without attack.
Yeah, without attack. Lock and load and, throw the key away.
Look, I just feel worst case scenario, if he does get dropped after a couple of bad games, he's probably then still made, even from here, an extra 100k at least. It's, I personally think it's an absolute no-brainer. And I think, like, the fact that I want him and Talangi are basically completely shaping my trades for this week. And one of the reasons why I actually think I personally might have to run an auto emergency by holding Cleary and Hines.
Okay. You're not tempted to boost one of them out?
I'm thinking I'll probably boost and do another trade because I think the ceilings for grabbing like a Val Holmes, I think, is worth more than anything.
Oh, so you don't have Hutch that you could swing up?
Unfortunately not. No, I traded him out and missed out. So that suffered. I'm suffering from that. But I just think those other 2 guys are more valuable than maybe the 30 or 40 points that potentially Sean Johnson gets over, say, whatever auto emergency comes through.
Yeah. You do have as well. So you got Hughes the first Friday game, so you could see what Hughes has scored. That's what I'm similar boat with you, still with Hines and Cleary, and I'm thinking of trying to do a loop early, see what, like a VC early, see what Hughes gets, and if he goes respectfully, 30 odd, then open up that loop, keep Cleary, and then not have to worry about trading him out to get him back in. So that's a bit of a weird strategy that I was thinking about. It does obviously mean foregoing an 800k gun for the next 2 weeks when Cleary's out. But I thought that was potentially a way to get Talangi and Pierce Paul without having to boost. But we'll see. It might be 3 and 3.
And that was, you mentioned there, that was one of the other thought processes of like a slight benefit for running this is that I do get a free crack at the VC loop. So on a week where captains might be a bit of an issue with the weather, having 2 cracks might not be the worst outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you take as a VC in that situation? Obviously, it's going to be a lot lower of a score that you would loop if you've automatically got an AE. It's almost like a buy round.
Yeah, I'd be probably putting the VC on Tedesco, I think.
Okay.
And for me, I would probably want to see 100 plus.
Even with the automatic emergency guaranteed.
Yeah, well, I've got the orange armband on Val Holmes at the moment, so it would need to be a pretty good score because I'm feeling pretty confident there. But anyway, we'll cover a bit more about the captains and the vice captains in a second. I did put out a question, basically a thread in the Discord earlier today where we got a few questions in. So I want to see what you guys think, if we can help some fellow members of the Discord. So we've got one here. We've been talking a little bit about halfbacks. Is there any love for Jerome Hughes?
Yeah. Buy out of the way. Started the season well. Storm full strength. You'd argue.
That scares me with Hughes, though. Storm full strength, because I feel like Caps and Munster will take away from him.
Yeah. He'll be a top 5 half again. I suppose, again, what we touched on earlier, bringing in a half means you either don't get Cleary in 2 weeks or you're trading Hughes out in 2 weeks. And that's the big dilemma for me, where I don't really want to spend up on a half that I know I'm 100% going to trade out. Yeah, try and go via duels and look to get a gun in another position.
Yeah, I know that from a couple of years ago, because I was a proud owner when he was, that Hughes was, before Hines was a fixture in the NRL, Hughes went the season there where he was the second best halfback behind Cleary. So he's certainly capable, but I tend to agree. I think he might have a few points taken off him just from sharing the load there at the Storm with the other superstars in the spine. We've got another one here from James Zuella. He's got Turbo and Teddy. His plan is to go Teddy to Ponga in round 7. Is it worth going Turbo to Paps this week?
So he'll end up with who? So first trade Teddy to Ponga. So he'd have Ponga and Turbo long term.
Teddy to Ponga in week 7.
Mm-hmm.
And he is thinking this week of going another step in the fullback roulette and going from Turbo to Paps. So the idea would be that week 7, he'd have Ponga and Paps as his fullbacks, but currently has Teddy and Turbo.
I don't know about the Teddy to Ponga thing, but I like Turbo to Paps.
Yeah, I think if you're high on Paps, I'd probably look to do it this week. I think, because look, the Broncos aren't as full strength as they have been. I think, like the fact that, as we've mentioned, he's got a lot of games down at Amy Park and he tends to go well there, Paps. I think, I'd probably look to do it this week potentially. And
he's break even 100%. I'd say it's now or never for him, really.
Yeah.
Low break even against an understrength Broncos, into Bulldogs. Roosters is a hard one, but then Souths, Titans, Sharks, like Paps could really do well against all of them. The only issue there I see is Turbo. To me, if you are doing the fullback roulette in full roulette fashion, then he'd have to come back around in 7-ish, because that's when he's got the good run. So, but again, it's not for me, the roulette. But if you're going to do it, I think you do need to commit to it. And if you do it once and it doesn't work, you sort of need to commit to it fully and go, well, I didn't get it right this time, but it'll pay off next time. And you can't do it sometimes, and because you might just get unlucky and always sort of, catch the bad scores that way.
See you guys at the end of the season when I spent 27 trades in fullback and my highest score was 60.
Morgan Smithy's still in your second row.
All right, and now we've got a couple more questions. While we're actually talking about the Storm, we've got one here on the live chat. Eli Katoa as a buy. I like it. I am a very, very big fan of Eli Katoa. I mean, he was a gun last year that got ruined by injuries, basically. If you've got the ability to do it, I'm 100% on board with Eli Katoa.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%.
A lot of people are talking about Jackson Ford. I'd do Eli Katoa before Jackson Ford, to be honest, and they're like $15,000 difference.
Yep.
I did a bit of a write-up. Always in the off-season, I do my write-ups right after the season ends because I know I'll forget about it by the time the season comes around. Last year, he averaged 62 for the season, but if you take out his injury-affected games, he would have averaged 73, which is absolute premium second row. So he's like 10 points of value. If he can stay fit this year, I think he's a genuine top 2 or 3 second rower. Again, fun fixtures coming up, buys out of the way, no origin. He's someone that I would be really tempted to go to.
Yeah, he is very firmly on my radar within the next 2 to 3 weeks. If I can make it work, he is absolutely somebody I want in as soon as I can.
What's he been scoring like this year? He's like sort of just been turning out 60s, right?
A little bit down so far, but it's not horrible.
66, 63, 57. So, yeah,
Not
all
bad.
pretty much in
Especially
base.
against Penrith Warriors Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only played 67, I say only, it's still good minutes against Warriors. So you'd like to see the 80-minute games for him, but yeah, once he sort of gets a try under his belt, he'll go close to 100.
Yep. And then we've got a big question here that's about ranking trades here from Burton of Interest. I will dive in and cover that a bit more in depth after this podcast, as I can type it out in the chat. But there's another question he's got. Is getting in Drinkwater too much if you've already got Val?
No. Go nuts.
No, I'm happy to sort of like, I guess, double up if you're feeling confident in the Cowboys against the Titans and going forward. Look beyond just this week, but if you're feeling really high on the Cowboys over the next 3 or 4, definitely do it.
I feel like they've gotten a kick in the ass after the way they started last year, right? And they've started this year, I wouldn't say great, but well enough. And I think they're only going to get better.
Sure. If you're bringing Drinky in, just make sure you don't sell him before the round 9. They've got Titans. This game's obviously plum. You've got to hold him through some tougher ones, but if you bring him in, commit to him for 5-6 weeks, and he'll average 80 plus for you. So don't flick him if he doesn't do well one round. He'll have his highs and lows, but he'll definitely have big highs.
Yes, completely agree. Now we'll look to start wrapping this up. So I've mentioned my choices most likely earlier on for VC and captaincy. So I'm thinking, VC Teddy into captain of Val Holmes. With me in my position, I'll hopefully get the VC crack for free, which I'm very happy with to a degree. Who are you guys thinking about giving the armbands to this week?
I'll go first. Depends if I do my Paps trade or not. If it's not Paps, it's probably the same as you, VC Teddy and C Holmes. But if I do the Paps trade, I'm definitely chucking the VC on Paps.
Yep.
Nice. At the moment, I've got Holmes in my team via Cleary, which may not stick. So it'd be VC Ponga into Holmes. Yeah. If I don't bring in another gun, my team's pretty dire in terms of guns this week. So it'd probably be someone like an early VC on Karaz, with not really any intentions to pull the loop and then just straight C on Ponga. But hopefully we get a bit more indication on the weather and to see if there's any clearish games, at least for the weekend ahead, to try and target.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there, Holden. Look, we've mentioned it a bit over this podcast. The weather is on record meant to be playing absolute havoc across a lot of Supercoach games this week. So I think it's a wise move to try to target the games that look like they're going to be dry. The one in Melbourne definitely looks like it is. So even somebody like, say, a Harry Grant, I don't think is like the worst shout for a VC potentially. Yeah, I don't mind a few of the Storm guys. The only other game, that really looks like it's going to be dry is probably that Townsville one from what I've seen.
I think Holden's had 6 mils there, so it's
not much.
Yeah,
it's a bit.
Not too bad.
And just to clarify a bit as well, it looks like we're not talking like a little bit of rain. It looks like it's going to be buckets is what it seems to be what's on the radar. So have a look into that before you make your decisions. I think it's just going to make things a bit easier this week if you know what's coming up.
100%. Good advice.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what? I think that's a pretty good spot for us to, I guess, wrap it up for tonight. So thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully we've helped you listeners out there to make a few decisions about how you're going with Supercoach. We have may have made things worse and confused you and made you sort of think I'm now going to make 1,000 moves. I apologize if that's the case, but we're here to talk Supercoach and that's what we've done. Just back your gut though. Like I'll always say that. I say it almost every week. Back your gut. You can't go wrong if that's the case.
Unless your gut's telling you to captain Hutchinson. Don't do that.
Yes, I will agree with that. So, yeah, thank you once again for listening. Like and subscribe to all the different channels for us. We've got the 2 podcasts that run each week. Basically, yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday if you're in with oh God, I'm having Mr. Charity and Scoop. Join the Discord if you're not already in there. Jump in. Great place to have a chat. I know it's helped me so far. So, I hope you guys all have a great night. Once again, thank you for joining me, and we'll catch you next.
Back yourself, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.